Well, hey everybody, it's Bob, and in this episode of Real Retail TV, we're going to explore 3 common but costly mistakes people make with their training. I hope we can agree that training is important, that a well-trained team member or a well-trained team will, really help your business immensely. One of the things that I contend is that as independent brick and mortar retailers, that your number one competitive advantage is to be able to give your customers an absolutely amazing experience. And that starts with the quality of the people you have on your team. And the quality of the people that you have on your team, yes, you have to find good people, but then you have to show them, you have to educate them, you have to train them on what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. You have to give them the skills they need to be successful. And while everyone seems to agree on this, not everybody does it at all, and not everybody does it correctly, which is what we're going to talk about right now. So what are the 3 costly mistakes that people make with their training? The number one mistake they make is their training is done one-on-one. I see this and hear this a lot. The owner says, I want to train everyone myself. And therefore, they take it upon themselves to train everybody. Unfortunately, all the work that needs to get done gets in the way, and people don't get trained properly, or they don't get trained completely. You might say, hey, I've got some great team members. I'll let my team members, my experienced team members, my veterans train my new team members. The problem with that is exactly the problem with you doing it. It just doesn't get done. Here's the problem. One-on-one is not scalable. You want to create a training program so that everyone who you hire goes through the same process, the same way, has the same information, and is able to perform at the same level. And one-on-one, when you do it that way, again, it's not scalable. People fall through the cracks. Some of the training gets done, some doesn't. And so one-on-one is a common but costly mistake. Number 2 is word of mouth, and it ties into one-on-one. Oh, I'll do it myself. I'll teach everyone myself, or I'll have a key employee, that veteran, do it. But the problem is not only is it not scalable, but the information that your new team member gets is inconsistent. I'll share a story with you. Our store in Mackinac, if you don't know my story, I had a retail business for 19 years, and it started in Mackinac City, Michigan. And to me as the owner, doing the closing checklist to standard every single night was very, very important. It was a sign of operational excellence. When the closing checklist and the opening checklist were done to standard every single day, the quality of the presentation of my store and the way things ran rose dramatically. But here's what I found. When I would train somebody how to close to standard, it was taught a particular way. There was a lot of emphasis. Hey, this is really important because when this gets done this way, our store runs better, it's easier for everybody, yada, yada, yada. Gave them all the reasons why, showed them my passion about doing it correctly, gave them the information they needed, and it was done well. But I handed it off to one of our assistant managers. Now you have to understand that Mackinac City was a fun party town, and my assistant manager was a fun party guy. So when he closed the store, the emphasis wasn't on getting it right and bringing it to standard and doing it correctly, doing it completely. His emphasis was, here's how we get out of here in a hurry, right? The faster you got out after you closed, the sooner you would be at the bar, at the party, wherever the good times were. And I found that after a little investigation. New team member wasn't quite closing correctly. I'd see that in the morning. I went back and explored, and sure enough, they weren't being trained correctly. So word of mouth is a common but costly mistake because you don't get consistency. You see, when you create a training program with a manual and videos, then all of a sudden you as the owner get the opportunity to really look in the camera, look it in the face and go, this is important to me. So that is the second thing. And when you create a training program, and I'm going to talk about the Retail Sales Academy in just a little bit. You don't need to use the Retail Sales Academy, but if you want to have a highly trained, great team that gives your customers a great experience, you need to have a training manual, and you need to have videos that support the manual. You see, the written word, the manual is important, but the manual is really about nuance. But the videos are about nuance. So if I were to write a manual and say, it's really important that you do the closing checklist to standard, that's different than the manual says you do the closing checklist to standard, and me making a video and going, you need to do it important. It's really important that we do things that way. So by creating a training program, you will you will be able to scale your training. You will be able to give consistent training. And that way, if you bring in seasonal people, if you bring in part-time holiday help, you don't just need to throw them to the wolves. You don't just throw them on the floor. You can give them the skills they need to give your customers the service they deserve. And the third common but costly mistake is treating training as a one-time event, one and done. You know, there's this thing called forgetting curve, and it's scientifically proven that if people are given information and it's not reinforced, that within 90 days they've lost, they no longer retain about over 90% of the information they were given. So understand this. Training is not an event, it's a process. So you can't just set it and forget it. You have to educate them, you have to train them, you have to engage them, you have to empower them, you have to keep them involved in your business, in what you're doing, in all of the things that go into having a highly trained, highly educated, really engaged team. So, what's the process? Here is the Groove-Proof training process in 2 minutes. But first of all, you have to create a manual. I'm going to talk about the Retail Sales Academy Plus in just a moment. But if you enroll in the Retail Sales Academy Plus, you will get a template for writing your sales training program. So you will have a manual. Then you have to create videos that mirror the manual so that when someone is trained, they get both the written word and they get to watch it and hear it. Do you see how you're engaging more senses? So then you have to have quizzes. Why? Because you want to ensure that people are actually paying attention when they're going through the manual and watching the videos. Then they need to demonstrate that they know how to show it to you. That they actually know what they learned and know how to do it. So for example, in the closing checklist, if the standard was all of the merchandise is faced forward and pulled forward, they need to show you that they know how to do that task to the standards that you have created. But that's really what it is. And so when you do this, here's the thing that I really want to share with you. This is work. Of course, building a training program is work, but it's good work. It's work worth doing. It's the work that is highly leveraged, meaning if you do it once, you have it forever. You can tweak it, you can tweak it, you can tweak it, but it is the foundation of all of your training from then on. Which leads me to right now until Friday. Next Friday, the Retail Sales Academy Plus, there is a special offer on the Retail Sales Academy Plus. The Retail Sales Academy Plus could be a real game changer for you. There's two parts to it. One is the Retail Sales Academy. That's where I train your people how to sell. And believe me, I know how to train people how to sell. But the other part is your custom course creator. And that is where you take your training program and you put it on our platform so that it becomes dead simple to build your training program, to do the quizzes, to do all of the things that you need to do to have a great training program. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it here. There is a link below, but if you want a special offer, go see the link below. And, like everything we do, it's fully guaranteed. I guarantee you're absolutely going to love it. And here's what I can say, is that the investment you're going to make may not break you, but the investment you make may make you. It may be a total game changer for you. So anyway, this is Bob Nagin. I hope you won't make any of the three common but costly mistakes that most people make with their training. I hope that this video inspires you to get serious about building your training program, whether you put it on wherever you put it. I mean, I hope you put it on the Retail Sales Academy, but wherever you put it, just get it done. So, any questions, comments, put them down below. Otherwise, I'm Bob Nagin, and I'll see you next week.